Starting take two in 3, 2, 1, go! You know, this question was well, I guess we wanted to milk it a bit because of the death of Clarence Clemens. You know, we didn't want to get into it right away. Where's the street band going to go? Is Bruce going to tour again? We really focused solely on the death of Clarence Clemens and really his legacy, what he did for everybody, where he took music himself. And so we focused on that, and after, of course, the emotions and the tears and everything went on and so forth, now we posed the question, where is E Street going? Now, even though it's not too long after Clarence Clemens' death, it's been posed by members of the Street Band, fans alike, and myself. I bring that question up. So I want to bring that up during the opening segments. We're going to talk about that. I want to hear your thoughts too, Ronnie, about this. But yeah, welcome to Take Two, everybody. That is right. Yet another episode of the program, and Ronnie and I are glad to be here. How are you, Ronnie?
I'm great.
You're great?
Yes.
I'm great.
Today.
Yeah, another show. Great to be here. Glad to be here. We have a great one planned for everybody. And you know what? We are approaching our next mini milestone.
I know.
We're approaching our next
so
major
close.
one, too. So we're approaching our next mini milestone, and we're approaching our next major milestone. How many times can you say that? We're approaching 2 milestones. Really, you approach a mini milestone, and then the next major one is, well, ways off. We're approaching both a mini and a major, so we're looking forward to both of those. But we'll have you do your part, Ronnie, making it official in just a moment. But before we get into all of that, if all of you tuned in right now would be so kind as the great listeners, please visit www.vonthenet.com. That is right, the Voices on the Net Network's website, where you, the great listeners, will be able to find more information regarding the Voices on the Net network. That's right, if you're new to the network and you have absolutely no clue what this network's about, I highly recommend you check out the About page. Go up to the top of the website. You click that About page, or that About link. It will take you to a web page that will provide you everything you need to know pertaining to the network and in thorough detail. Great guide for you. You can also check out podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, and they're all available on demand for and at your very own convenience. You can check everything out by going to www.vonthenet.com. All right. So, Ronnie, you know what? You reach into your envelope over there, envelope, tomato. Let's get it out right now. We have a great show planned. You have to make it official, though, first. So that is your job. You've got the mic.
It's officially now. Episode 288.
Now it is episode number 288. Episode number 288 of the show. And we're glad to be here, as I stated before. And like I said, a lot to talk about. We usually have quite a bit to talk about. I don't think there's ever a show, Ronnie, where we don't have enough to talk about. There's always going to be stuff to talk about. We'll find things to talk about, even if they don't make as much sense as some of the other things we talk about. We'll still find things to talk about.
Yeah, so far no topic off base.
Yeah, we've been very lucky with the topics we have. But then again, you find great ones. Ronnie, at the end of every show, starts looking for great topics and then sends them to me. She does an optimal job. Such a huge help. With this network, and we appreciate it immensely. We really do, Ronnie.
Thank you.
So, great. But yeah, where is E Street going? And that's the question that's posed because Danny Federici's gone, but there's Charlie Giordano took his place. Clarence Clemens is now gone. So they've lost a couple of members of the E Street Band. And there are people that are saying, well, is the Street Band done? Is the Street Band simply going to go away? Bruce will still tour. The members left will still tour, elsewhere. Will the E Street Band continue? This is where that question was posed by Steven Van Zandt, member of the E Street Band. He was also in The Sopranos, played Silvio Dante. And he brought up on his show, The Underground Garage, he does a radio show, and he mentioned how, quote, "We will continue to make music and perform. Let's face it, that's all we really know how to do. But it will be very different without him," being Clarence Clemens. And the thing is, with Danny Federici, and I read this up, and it's a great point, Charlie Giordano, because Danny Federici had melanoma, and he had been touring with the band with melanoma for some time, and those times, those dates that Danny couldn't fill in, couldn't do his duties, Charlie would sit in. So he had a lot of practice and so forth leading up to Danny's death. So he just kind of stayed on. Clarence died, and I don't think any of them were and nobody was expecting it. Yeah, his health wasn't the greatest, but were you expecting him to die? No. After, of course, you heard the stroke, then people speculated, and then, of course, unfortunately, he passed away. But, of course, they're all getting up there. I mean, Bruce is getting up. All of them are getting up there. But they're obviously still tour capable. Where do you think the E Street Band's going to go? You've never seen them live yet, Ron.
No, I had a chance to see them, but then, Bruce's cousin died, so I didn't get a chance to see them. But I think I think they are going to. They've got two options here. Either to obtain another sax player, which is going to be difficult to do when you consider the shoes that they're filling, or maybe not be so sax heavy on some of the music that they play.
That's
they
the
still
thing, though.
Do that.
That's the thing, and listen, with time comes change. We know that. That's understandable. But the thing is, the sax plays such a pivotal role in Bruce's music, such a pivotal role, and with say Danny Federici, while he was a pivotal member of the E Street Band, he wasn't in the limelight. Clarence was. Clarence was a part of the band's stage show, right up front. So you're losing a pivotal member there. When you replace that member, or I don't think they're going to go that route personally. I don't think they're going to get rid of some of the, if not all of the sax solos. I think they're going to have to replace him. I don't know who's going to take his place, but I think they need to continue adding that sax sound. It's a very known vibe in the rock and roll world. It really
Jungle
is.
Land. You can't play without Jungle Land.
How? Yeah, exactly. How are you going to play Jungle Land without the sax solo? What are you going to have Bruce play the solo on his guitar? It just isn't. It's not going to sound the same. And I understand with time comes change, but there are some things you just don't change. Now that's the other thing. Do they just ditch and ban, or just ditch Jungle Land? Don't play it anymore? How can they not? It's one of their big epic songs. So these are all questions that they're bringing. I'm sure Bruce is pondering what he's going to be doing in the near future. He wants to tour again. Heck, there were rumors saying he was going to tour with the E Street Band in 2012. So now with this occurring, where is he going to go? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? That is the question. That's why I bring it up, because people are starting to talk about it a lot more now. Where is the E Street Band going to go? Is E Street going to be any more? Bruce going to tour solo? Are they going to just maybe include other members of the band and maybe make up a new band name? What are they going to do? Do they want to simply close out E Street on top with the members that really, really, of course, they all mean a lot to the band, but with the death of Danny and the death of now Clarence, do they simply just sever the ties between the E Street name and touring, and any of the band members that want to join with Bruce future touring can do so? They create another name. What do you think? What do you think they should do? Do you think they should sever the name and simply just go with something else, or do they continue with the E Street name and then you say, well, people are going to unfortunately pass away, but you move on, just like bands that replace their lead singers and so forth?
I don't think Clarence would want the E Street Band to break up because of his death. I really don't think.
I don't say break up.
To happen.
I'm not saying break up.
Get rid of the name. I just don't think that he would want that. He would want it to go on. Now, I know that he has 3 grown sons.
And one of them very good.
Play the sax.
One of them very good at playing the sax. I don't know if they all are, but I know one of them very good.
That would be something to do. Now, it's hard for the fans to sit there and watch. It would be for me if Clarence was not there, because that sax just maybe vibrate all over it. So maybe that would be something that they would consider putting his son in there in his place. It'd be easier to take, and still the band goes on. It's kind of like a legacy being transferred over.
Well, they did that with Max Weinberg. Max Weinberg, when he was a part of the Tonight Show band with Conan O'Brien, and he's a part of Conan O'Brien's show. And when he was at the show, when Max was not doing live shows with Bruce, he was at Conan's studio, and his son Jay Weinberg would fill in, and Jay did an optimal job filling in, an excellent job. He's a great drummer, though. We know that. We've seen him before. He filled in just one time thing every now and then. He would fill in on Born to Run, and he could do it. And Bruce knew that. We've also heard one of Clarence's sons play the sax with him on stage. I've watched the videos. He's very good. It's just, can he handle an entire show? And that's where the question lies. Can he handle it? Will we try to rehearse with him? Where are we going to go with this? You bring up a good point. Are they going to remove the sax solos? Or are they going to keep them? Are they going to... It's still going to be a rock and roll show, but you can obviously play the sax solo, the jungle land sax solo, the piano or on the guitar. It's not going to be the same, but like I said, with time comes change. But like I said, these are all questions. Or unless they insert
it. They could insert Clarence in there without Clarence being there.
No. Bruce is not. No, Bruce, he's not a pop act. No, you can't. No. Backing tracks, no. No, that would anger the fans too much. That would anger the fans way too much. Now, you're probably saying, well, JJ, you're not leaving me many choices. What are you going to do? You're going to change sax players? Are you going to add another sax player in there to do the solo for the band? Or are you going to include Clarence's backing track? Well, that's the question. I just don't think they would go that route. I don't think they would. I think they would rather get rid of the sax solos than play the backing track. I really do.
I hope they give his son a try.
Well, I hope they do.
In the beginning.
I hope. Listen, I would. when Danny passed and Charlie filled his shoes, it was hard, but I became used to it. I did. Mm-hmm. I did. I became used to it. It's going to be hard, but I think fans will become used to wherever the band goes. I think everybody, or at least the fans that are close to the band, know that people do get older and unfortunately pass on. The band is not going to forget about Clarence Clemens whatsoever. So with that, they know that they can accept the fact that another sax player and another saxophonist is going to take the place of Clarence Clemens and do what he did. Now, is he going to be Clarence Clemens? No, but whoever is going to take his place is going to be whoever they are. They're going to create their own image, their own brand. It's just like anything else. It's like Ronnie. It's like the fans that are, say, huge Steve Perry fans of Journey. He left. Right. Now they've had 50 million different lead singer changes. Now they have Arnel Pineda. There are people that are Steve Perry fans that will not go to see Journey because Steve Perry is not the lead singer. Why? I thought you were a fan of Journey. If you're a fan of Journey, it shouldn't matter who the lead singer is. You're a fan of the Journey music. The Journey name continues. It's just a bit of a different sound. And Arnel sounds a lot like Steve Perry, and you would wonder, well, if it's the Journey name, regardless of the sound, they create a unique sound, it would still be the Journey name, the Journey theme. So you have to accept the fact that either A, you stop, that's it, you just finish, you don't continue because you want to go out on top, or you continue because it's a band. Bands may have a different change every now and then. If you go over the lifespan of certain bands out there, you'll notice that there have been personnel changes. There have been people that have left the band. Look at Van Halen, Journey. Look at Bon Jovi. They changed bassists. Maybe not as extreme as other bands now with Bruce losing a couple of members. You accept it. You do. You accept it for what it is, and then come new album time with whoever's going to take, if they're going to replace Clarence, come album time, you're like, this is really good. This is good for what it is. You enjoy it. You accept it. That's what's going to, in my opinion, what's going to occur, I think.
Oh, yeah, because you still have other members of the band that you still have. Steve, I mean, I think he's an awesome. I love his guitar playing. He's got a lot of solos himself. So I think even though Clarence is not there, he's still there in spirit. So I don't think whoever they put in his place, which I hope it's his son, that puts in his place is stuck. And the band's still going to go on. They're still going to play them. The fans are going to be there supportive regardless, because Bruce has suffered a lot of loss. Right. Past couple of years, you think about it. I mean, they're there for Bruce. They're there for the band, and this is just another memorial that they can get to go to.
Well. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Let's be realistic here, and I'm not trying to be insensitive whatsoever. While every band member plays a major and pivotal part in that band, while the fans go to see the Bruce and the E Street Band, 90% of the fans are going to see one person and one person only, and that's who? That's Bruce Springsteen. Okay, so they're not going to lose a lot of fans with the death of people. I understand. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm trying to be realistic. It's just the truth. It's how it is. They're going to see Springsteen. That's who they're going to see. So Bruce knows that's not going to be a problem. It's just whether he wants to continue on with the band or if he wants to go solo. Because he goes solo every now and then. He plays with another band every now and then. And he still sells out 20,000-seat arenas or more. So that's not a problem. People are going to see Bruce. And, the band members that play a part, great. Yeah, it's fun to watch the chemistry, but they go to see Bruce Springsteen. Now, somebody in the chat room brought up seeing Journey is a little odd today. Why? Why? That's what that right there. I'm glad that one of the listeners brought that up. I really am. Thank you, Will. Because it plays a part into what I just said. Why is it weird? You know that things are going to happen. So you go back to how it originally was. And Steve Perry was not the first band lead singer. He wasn't. There was one before him. So it just, there are going to be changes in a band. You accept it. So you're used to a specific era of a band. So once it changes, you become a little, this is still Journey, but it's not Journey. Or this is still this band, but it's not this band. My mother's the same way. By the way, happy birthday, Ma. It's her birthday today. She's the same way. She loves Steve Perry. She's a diehard Perry fan. She cannot go to see Journey because Perry's not there. I've seen Journey numerous times with the different singers they've had. They're great. So I guess I could accept it more than others, maybe. I guess that's just this is how I am. Yeah.
Well, some people have the ability to accept change, others don't. So I think it's going to be a personal basis. But, Bruce is Bruce. He's been around for, as long as I've been alive. So I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon. Wherever he goes, he's going to draw the crowds.
God willing.
He's going to be missing without Clarence, though, obviously. I mean, he's like number 2.
Right.
But, I would still go because I have a pair of jeans I have to wear that I made.
Yeah, Bruce is 60 or 61 years old. So he's getting up there, too. So... but he when he's on stage, he doesn't look like a 61-year-old. He doesn't. He looks like he's in his 30s. He acts like he's in his 30s up there. So he's just, if you haven't seen Bruce, I've seen them. I've seen Bruce and the E Street Band numerous times. And every time they've been epic. I've enjoyed every single show. So if you haven't seen them and they tour again, you'll want to see them. I'm telling you, they are great. And Ronnie is so upset because she's wanted to see them. She's had the opportunities to see them. But unfortunately, they just have not came through for her because of deaths or unfortunateness. But hopefully, if they tour again, you get to see them. We do have to move into the associations. That is right. This part of the show where Ronnie and we associate just things out there, whether they're certain, just random things that are associated with every episode. A number. It may be a car that has the episode number in its name, or maybe a story that has the number, whatever episode it is associated with it in it. We'll go into the associations in just a hot moment. It is time, though, to thank our sponsor. That is right. This portion of the 288th episode of Take Two is brought to you by Audible.com, and we thank Audible for their generous support of the Take Two program as well as the Voices on the Net network. Now listen up, ladies and gentlemen, because Ronnie and I, well, we have an awesome deal for each and every one of you, and you don't have to spend a single dime. You don't have to spend a single dime. Telling you. You'll be glad you took advantage of this offer. We'll give you one free audiobook and a 14-day, a 2-week free trial to browse over 85,000 audiobooks. 85,000 and counting. Yeah, they're always adding new audiobooks to their service. Really, the premier service on the web, Audible. Nobody's even come close to competing with them yet. That's because they're that good. But we'll give you that offer right there, the free audiobook and a 14-day free trial. No risk to you. You don't have to spend a single dime. You go to audibletrial.com/take2. That is audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of this offer. You have 14 days to decide whether you want to become a member or not. And after 14 days, if you decide you want to continue because it's such a great service, you pay for the service. You support the Voices on the Net network, the Take Two program. And you know Ronnie and I appreciate it immensely. So please take advantage of this offer. audibletrial.com/take2. Go to the link to find out pricing information too after your trial's over. As always, we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network. That's audibletrial.com/take2. Thank you, Audible, for your support. All right. We got to get into the associations here. So, Ronnie, do you want to start us off with one over there? I know you've got a few for us.
Oh, yeah. In 2006, there were 288 million breast enhancement procedures done in the United States, 7% of which were men.
So there were 288
million breast enhancement
288 million breast enhancement surgeries.
Yeah, which you'd think that, well, who else are they going to do this to? So every year it's gradually increasing to more and more people.
So I guess people are just not they're not okay with what the good Lord gave these people. They'd rather enhance it.
I guess not.
It's like
alterations. I mean, that plastic surgeries, I guess, is a thing of the day now, I hear.
Well, I'll tell you. You walk the streets of your town or your city. You go to a big city. You'll notice that at least half of the people, the females walking around, definitely have had surgery done to enhance that part of their body. Absolutely, probably way more than that. I notice it all the time, and one thing that I'm noticing, though, the women are getting younger. They're doing it at a younger age too, because they want that part of their body to stand out. No pun intended. They will stick out. No pun intended again. but yeah, they do.
Yeah, I guess that's the first thing you want somebody to see. That would be the place to go.
I guess so, Ronnie. I'll tell you. I mean, I'm not going to complain. That's for sure. I'm not going to complain about that part of the body. All right. Thank you for your association. I've got one for you. The Ferrari is a beautiful vehicle. I've brought up the Ferrari quite a bit on the show during the associations part. Not that I can, afford it per se. I mean, it's a little out of my price. It's a little out of my price range. It's, I guess, dismally out of my price range. But I wouldn't mind sitting in one every night. I think was it a Lamborghini or was it a Ferrari? I sat in one. I can't remember what it was. I remember there was somebody in my town has it's a Lamborghini. Sat in a Lamborghini. Beautiful. Such a beautiful vehicle. $400,000 vehicle, but it's beautiful. This car is absolutely gorgeous. The Ferrari GTO, or the Ferrari 288 GTO. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's an exotic homologation of the Ferrari 308 GTB. And it's an older one, but it's gorgeous. If you look at it, just look it up online. Go to Google and look it up. Ferrari 288 GTO. There were only 272 produced, and I think there were a little more. It says that it is sourced on Wikipedia, but I think it was a little more. But don't quote me on it. It says 272. What's up?
They have kit cars of that model, so.
Yeah. But it is a absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous car with a 2.9-liter turbocharged V8 engine in there. It is definitely a sexy vehicle. All right. What about another association over there? You got one for us, Ronnie?
Well, in Germany, remember, another episode, another country beat them out. But this time, Germany is going to beat out with this episode where they bought 288 windmills for their first windmill farm, which was a grand total cost of $1.38 billion in 2010. But get this, it's only going to supply enough electricity for 500,000 homes.
Wow.
That's it? For that price tag? First of all, we've got wind farms here in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come to Nebraska. It goes to California. So I don't know what they think, because no one has yet to see their bill go down in price. Mm-hmm. But you see all these windmills going all over the place, but nothing else.
We don't have a lot of those in New Jersey, windmills. That's a part of society that we're not used to. Unless you go to, I guess, southwestern Jersey, where there are more farms and more farmland. I guess it's just more valley land. It's more down there than it would be where I am, where there's more city life. So I'm not used to the whole windmill concept, but I can imagine.
They're interesting to look at.
They're beautiful. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, I've seen them on TV. They're gorgeous. I'm sure you stayed in Nebraska probably has quite a few of them. But very cool. This is in Germany, right? Yeah.
This is in Germany.
Gotcha. I've got an association for you, and this one is so unfortunate, but we know how corrupt it is over on in this part of the world, over Nigeria. How Muslim mobs, get this, burned down 288 churches, and they killed hundreds in Nigeria. Now get this right here. This is actually recent news from May, the beginning of May 2011. Washington, D.C. From Washington, D.C., the report comes out of, I believe, as they are reporting on this story. On April 18th, Kenneth, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, Kenneth Goomba, was eating his breakfast and getting ready to go to work in the metropolitan city of Kaduna when violence broke out. He watched in terror as a Muslim mob led by his neighbor approached his home, shooting and calling for murder of his family. Now, Goomba and 12 members of his family narrowly escaped from the attackers by fleeing through the back door of their home before the mob set the house on fire, burning their entire property to the ground. Yeah, Goomba was lucky to escape with his life, thank God. Many other Christians, well, guess what? They were not so lucky. 288 churches burned down, hundreds and hundreds of Nigerians. And those that were in Nigeria, maybe not necessarily Nigerian, were killed. Sad, huh?
Some neighbor.
I'll tell you. What about the violence out there? Why can't we all just get along, I feel like? But then again, that's not going to happen anytime soon. All right,
we got a time.
Yeah. All right, you have a funny law for us before heading into your stamp of reparation, Ronnie? Any funny laws?
One.
All right, you've got it.
Washington State. Now, this is I was shaking my head. It's like, what? It is against the law for someone who comes into the state that is a criminal, right? Mm-hmm. Only they go a little bit further with this type of legislation. It's Chapter 2.22.288, and the law is to reduce the crime that goes on in Washington State, rather. It is mandatory for a tourist or a motorist with criminal intentions to stop at the city limits and then telephone the chief of police that he or she is entering the town. So I guess if you're wanted, you just call a sheriff up and say, hey, I'm in the state. Just to let you know.
I can always look forward to your funny laws. And they're interesting laws, too. Interestingly funny, I guess. Would be
what makes them come up with these ideas? I mean,
I wonder.
A criminal's going to call you up. Hey, I'm here.
You and me both, Ronnie. I want to know where some of these laws come from. We should compile all of the funny laws you've came up with, you've went over during the association segment. Plot them on the web, post them on the website for people to see, because some of them are so unrealistic in many cases, so crazy and outlandishly interesting. But that's. Different parts of the world, different parts of the United States have their own rules and laws that they abide by. All right, we got to get into Ronnie's stamp of reparation. It is time to hear what Ronnie has to say. So guess what, Ronnie? You have the mic.
Oh, well, I'm actually going to go and reverberate back to a case that I brought up at an earlier episode pertaining to a registered woman who was arrested for videotaping police officers in her front yard.
Okay.
A lot of new things have come up with this case. First of all, the charges were dropped. She was released from jail.
Good.
That we already have. But we also find a little bit more tidbits about Little Miss. She calls herself Good. Her name is Emily Good.
Right.
That she actually is a part of a organization that she and her some neighbors, not all neighbors, I found out, have organized this particular union. It's called Police Corruption whatever, that they have put all over mainstream media. They have placed themselves all over YouTube, where they intentionally go out and film anything that's going on. Now, she's trying to say that this is her First Amendment, that this is the First Amendment rights of everybody to be able to have a quote camera and videotape the actions that's gone on, which really, maybe if she wants to be an activist, she should know what the laws are first, especially that First Amendment, because it doesn't say anything about you having the right. If that was the case, everybody would have it. Unfortunately, she has a little problem with this case, because she clearly stated that reason why she brought out the video camera was because she saw three white police officers pull over one black male suspect in a car in front of her house. And so she automatically stated that was racist. It was a racist pull by a police officer, which tells me one thing. She and her organization that she is with is intentionally bringing up things, because if you're calling racist about in front of your front yard because three police officers pull over one black male suspect, would you say the same thing if three black male officers pulled over a white suspect? Well, I doubt that video camera would have been pulled out at any time.
Well, Ronnie, affirmative action is always called into question when it has to do with the arrest of a white or black man or Spanish person. If it's a group of, say, if it's a group of black men or a group of white men, it's always going to be called into question. You're going to be suspicious, regardless of whether they're actually racist or not.
But this is it. When you see an officer pull somebody over, you being in your house, and listen, she was getting ready for bed in her little nightgown, hair up, sees this in front of her house. She automatically assumed, because she did not know who was in that vehicle, she had no idea what was the cause of the pullover or even the detainment of the suspect in the first place, which we found out was also a gang member. So the police officers, what their intent was their intent. But she had no right to do what she had to do. But anyway, she is now going to sue the Rochester Police Department for false arrest. I don't think that's going to go too far.
Well, we should see what happens. We did talk about this story about a woman from New York who got arrested for videotaping a police officer that apparently had felt unsafe with her being behind him. And there was a lot of commotion going on throughout the internet for what had occurred. This police officer had abused his powers, arrested her for not putting the video camera away and going inside. And she had a right to stand out on her front lawn. She wasn't on the sidewalk. She would have stood back if that were the case, which she did. However, he wanted her to go inside. So this was a story that we had talked about a few episodes ago, and obviously I had let you know that we would give you updated details on this story once they were out in the open, which we did. And Ronnie, we appreciate your update on this story, absolutely. And we knew that there were going to be other pieces added to this story. We did.
Oh yes,
absolutely, always right.
But she has a history that she failed to bring out her own self, because this was brought into a civil court. Civil court, guess what? All evidence is brought in. It's not like a common court where precedence takes effect. No. In a civil court, everything comes in. Kitchen sink, the bathroom, toilet, the whole 9 yards comes in. And guess what? She has a little history of her own, because her arrest record is quite significant on what she's done. So that'll be brought into the play as well. So we'll see how far she takes it, or how far she thinks her activism will take her.
Well, we could definitely look forward to you keeping on top of this story. All right. Got to move to the break. Got to head to the break on this 288th episode of the show. But before we head there, what are we going to talk about? What are Ronnie and I going to be going into during the second segment? Well, quite a bit. Plus, your blast from the past. You don't want to go anywhere. We're going to be talking about why we fight. Why do we fight? Why do you fight? Do you fight to prove a point? Do you fight to win? Well, what about a little bit of both? Does it bug you ever when you hear somebody that's arguing or trying to prove a point and they say you're not going to win because I've already won? Does that ever bug you, folks? I know it bugs the heck out of me. But the thing is, Am I a hypocrite for saying, well, I kind of do the same thing every now and then? I think we all do. The thing is, there's an interesting study here that shows there are parts of your brain. One person might use one side, one quadrant of their brain, while the other might use another side. And these are the two people arguing. Emotion versus analytical thinkers. Methodical versus emotional thinkers. Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to go into this here. It's going to be pretty intriguing to find out some of the details. I want to hear what Ronnie has to say about this, too. We're also going to be going into, back on episode number 278 of this program, we talked about Facebook's growth of users slowing down. Well, what does that quote-unquote decline say to report showing Facebook now hit the 750 million user mark? What does that decline in growth state? Well, yeah, I'm trying to figure out that same thing. Or maybe all of the users that are leaving MySpace, well, maybe they're going over to Facebook. Yeah, well, one member of MySpace actually did go over to Facebook, and I think you know who it is. We're going to go into that as well as your blast from the past. You don't want to go anywhere. So much coming up on this 288th episode of the show. You know you want to stay tuned. Ronnie and I return right after the break. Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode number 288. Yeah, that's right. Ronnie and I are, we're back. We've returned for more. Right, Ronnie? Yeah. Are you there, Ronnie? Can't hear Ronnie. Ronnie is not there.
Am I here now?
You are there now. Did you hit the mute button over there? Darn it. Anyhow, welcome back,
it's a button. I'm sorry.
I know you love to click them. You love to click buttons.
I know.
It's like we're trying to get Ronnie. We're trying to get Ronnie here. Where is she? Come on, Ronnie. You can do it. You can talk. And she hits the mute button. She loves pushing them. It's like she has to push.
Pushing buttons.
Listen, she pushes it. Listen, she pushes it so much that it's become second nature to her now. Now she has to click it, and now it's affecting her show performance. All right, but anyhow, we're back for a great second segment of the show, so stay tuned. You know you wanna. We're going to talk about, that is right, why we fight. Why do we argue? Do you fight and argue to prove a point? What about to win? What about a bit of both? Also, we're going to talk about a Facebook, more Facebook news pertaining to the supposed decline turned into a massive growth. And why? Well, MySpace's decline equals a bit of Facebook a bit of Facebook growth that's equal to what we're going to be talking about. So you want to stay tuned before getting into everything, though, including your blast from the past. If all of you tuned in right now would be so kind, please visit www.theonthenet.com. That is right, the Voices on the Net Network's website, where you, the great listeners, will be able to find more information regarding the Voices on the Net Network. Yeah, that is right. All you need to do is go up to the top of the website. You will see an About link. You're going to click it, and it will take you to a web page that will provide you everything you need to know pertaining to this network here. A great guide for those of you that are new to the network, you know nothing about it. See, rather than Ronnie and or I explaining it to you, that page gives you everything you need to know. Now, you can also check out podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, and they're all available on demand for and at your very own convenience. Every podcast, every show is there for you. There's articles as well, a lot of content. A lot of content all for you, all at www.theonthenet.com. All right, so why don't we start with the first item on the itinerary, because we do have a lot to go into here and only so little time. So what do you say we start off with this one? Why do we fight, Ronnie? The thing is, well, I guess asking that question, or if I'm asking that question, why do we fight? Because you and I, well, we tend to argue every now and then on the show. That's for the great listeners that just love to see when you tear my head off. But the fact is, we do argue every now and then, and not only us, but those listening, everybody argues every now and then. Why do we fight, though? The fact of the matter is, many of us say, I'm going to win this argument. I'm going to win this argument. I'm trying to prove a point. What is the difference between the two? Because there's an interesting article here that we're going to base it off of on the Wall Street Journal website. Talks about why we fight. We blame it on our brains. That there are parts of our brains that kick in when we fight. Some of us may be analytical thinkers. Some of us may be methodical. Some of us may be emotional. And when you have an analytical thinker and an emotional thinker converging when they're arguing, that cannot usually mean a good ending. Because you're hitting into a brick wall. It's like, oh boy, here we go. You're getting into a battle there. So there's some interesting details pertaining to what we're going to be talking about here. But I want to hear your opening statements regarding this, on why we fight, on why we argue, and whether there really is a balance between the proving a point and the winning. Because somebody's clearly going to make their point, but does that necessarily mean they've won the debate, the argument? What if you've proved your point and the other person proved their point, why didn't the other person win? Why do you win, in other words? So let's see what you have to say about this here, Ronnie.
Because I was better. No.
Okay.
But it's almost like that we have to win little battles in order to win the war.
Right.
Type thing. This is kind of how our arguing does. We end up we fight because we want to prove a point, but in the process of proving a point, we also want to be able to put that check mark by our name that we won that one. Ronnie won, JJ 0 type thing.
I don't think.
I'm just kidding, JJ.
I'm trying to think of all the times Ronnie's beaten me in an argument.
What the viewers
let's see. I'd have to say I can't.
Because it depends what side of the camera we're on, what perception we're going to have.
I can't recall any of the times Ronnie's beat me in an argument. I don't think she's ever beaten me. No, I think it's, yeah.
There was a beat? Huh. No. But we do. We fight to prove a point along the way. We win the little battles until we get to that big war, and then we expect all those little check marks to be behind our name that we won that particular argument. But it kind of depends on who walks away or who just gives up and walks away. I don't usually give up and walk away.
Well, some people don't like confrontation. Some people don't like that.
Sure.
Some people like to talk. Some people like to just delve into a discussion, but they don't want it to turn into an argument. So they'll just they'll refrain from even getting into a discussion with somebody because they don't even want to risk getting into an argument or a fight. Some people just don't like the chaos surrounding an argument. I don't mind. I'll get into I'll get into a debate. I'll get into a fight. I'll get into an argument whenever That's kind of who I am. That as a broadcaster, I've kind of learned that that's just part of my life. It's going to occur, so I might as well do the best I'm going to do. And you don't have to agree with what I have to say, but that's the other side of it right there, because you're going to have, as broadcasters, we appeal to, and maybe not necessarily appeal to everybody, we appeal to a lot of different people that have their own views. Some may agree with what you have to say. Some may agree with what I have to say. That's part of this here. That's why there's two people involved. We want to try and get out as many different points that kind of appeal to the audience as a whole. Because there are people out there that would like to get in front of this mic here and say what they have to say. But if we say it for them, it's like they've already stated it. So that's a part of doing this, and that's a challenge of doing this, kind of going into the whole spiel of how we do this. But when we talk about, and you brought up putting a little check mark next to a win or something along the lines of that, it's kind of the summation of it, Ronnie. That's what it is. Kind of the summation, the fact that we like to tally, we like to keep score, we like to have a score. It's kind of the goal. It's kind of if I have a point next to my name, it's like when you play Call of Duty and you have more stars, or you have more a higher rank than somebody else. You have that next to your name. It's kind of a form of summation to a point, but it's a grade. It's something you're showing that you can do it.
We've done.
Well, yeah, you're basically showing the world that you have what it takes to do whatever it is you're doing. In Call of Duty, it's be a kick-ass sniper. If you're involved in an argument, you're a good debater, say. So it gives you that. But is it really all about that? Because people that only care about putting a check mark next to their wins, and then we're going to get into, really, is there a winner or a loser? Because everybody proves their own point. They may feel theirs is better than yours. You feel yours is better than theirs. Where's the deciding factor? Not everybody broadcasts. Not everybody is going to have an audience to let them know where they stand. It's between two people for the most part, an argument. So who wins and who loses? It's like a fight, an actual fist fight. Who wins and who loses? The person that knocks the other person down wins? Nobody wins in a fight. Even if you knock somebody down, you really think you win? No, you're both wrong. So in an argument, you may raise your voice. Maybe that can be compared to that, if you think about it.
That's true, but I think we've been raised to be this competitiveness that we have. When we look in school, we have a grade to accomplish. We'll be better than somebody else. We put it out there to show who we are. Same thing within a argument, a disagreement, something. I mean, two people there's always going to be a disagreement about something at some point in time. That's why we pick and choose our fights in society. We pick and to choose, decide what we are going to fight. What is in it for us? Are we going to relieve ourselves from our, whatever is hiding within us? We want to get it out. This is what we're talking about, and I'm going to finally get it all out. Or you have those that hold it in, that wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Sometimes I do that I'll hold so much in, and then all of a sudden I will explode. There's just no holding back. It's like I'm a bomb that will go off once I've done that and gotten to that point to where everything, remember how, everything just kind of comes back to hit. So you can go back years and bring an argument together. I think there's not really a winner or a loser. I think it's dependent on, at the end, that you come at a mutual understanding. That you understand someone else's viewpoints and they understand your viewpoints. And then leave at that. But you've both made your points, your scores along the way. But at the end, you're still communicating with each other. I mean, it didn't break anybody up. It didn't cause violence that I'm aware of. That we can actually sit down and say, okay, I understand where you're coming from, but this is where I think it's not right, da-da-da-da. And still an opinion, but not actually a winner.
Right. And this is another reason. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Herman International Survey. It's a test that you may take, and it basically will have you ever heard of it before?
No.
Basically, will focus on, basically allow you to test, basically allow you to take a test, and it will allow you to focus on performance of thinking and so forth. It focuses on the brain, and it states on their website it harnesses the power of whole brain thinking. That's really a better way to put it here. And everybody has their own thinking styles. Everybody has their own style of debating, arguing. Everybody has their points they're going to be bringing up. Maybe you'll have tunnel vision, and a lot of us do, and that's not necessarily an insult. We'll have tunnel vision when we're arguing or debating because we follow what points we're for. We follow our viewpoints. And that's where the challenge, and I've brought this up numerous times, it's thinking about what you're saying, and it's also listening to what the opposing person is saying. When you're in that heat of the moment, when you're in an argument, you're engaged in an argument, your tone is so high, you're only thinking about what you're talking about rather than thinking about what the opposing person is talking about. If you can agree with what the other person is saying, some of the points they're bringing up, that can turn an argument into a regular discussion, a snap of a finger. Because you don't know if the other person has points that you may be for. You're arguing. You're at that point in the argument where you're simply only focusing on what you're saying. I think a lot of people actually have that problem, and that's why the Herman, the website's Herman International. You can go to hbdi.com if you want to check it out. That's why the Herman International Brain Dominance Survey will work for so many people. You can analyze your thinking. You can analyze your thinking, and allows you to see results over time by taking the survey, the test, to improve your performance, thinking, and so forth. Because I think a lot of people have that tunnel vision, and again, not an insult, because I have it too. I've noticed you have it too. We all, when we argue, we notice that we're only focusing on what we're saying. We're not focusing on what the other person's saying. We aren't.
We do, because we bring a lot into an argument when, depending on who we're arguing with or disagreeing with. I think it depends on the moment. What has happened that spurred it? Was it an attack on you, the individual? Because at that point, the fangs come out, and you do get that tunnel vision, because it's like, now you are not going to get the best of me, no matter what the argument is about, and so you're gonna throw everything that you possibly can out there without listening to the other person.
You see, that's the wrong way to look at an argument, though. You're not going to get the best of me. That's not the way to look at an argument. It isn't. An argument, first off, call it a debate. A debate should not be that way. A debate should not be, I'm going to get the best of you and I'm going to win, and that's the way it is. A debate should allow two people to get their points out while still backing what you stand for, but also listening to what the other person has to say. And that's the challenge in itself. Now, when you're comparing two people debating just between themselves and two hosts debating on a show for an audience, there's a bit of an entertainment factor involved, because you want the audience to be, wow, look at this is crazy. But the challenge of not raising your voice while still debating and backing what you have to say, while still having that authoritative speech, but not raising your voice, is a challenge, because a lot of people tend to raise their voice when they argue because they want to get their message out, and that's how it is. That's how we act when we're debating, when we're arguing, when people argue. A lot of people argue. So there's so much involved, and finding out why we do so. That has to do with the quadrants of the brains. If you're an analytical thinker, if you're a quantitative analytical thinker, a technical thinker, emotion plays a part. What if you were to be an emotional thinker? You're telling me that's not going to have some sort of an impact if you're going up against, say, an analytical, quantitative thinker? Emotion plays a large part in why we become upset, obviously. You become upset because you may have had a hard day at work. Your boss has been on you, and your emotions kick in when you're getting involved with with somebody in an argument. That has to play a major role if you think about it. Has to.
It does. I mean, whatever your environment, whatever you expose yourself during the day, night, regardless, always that negative always builds up into you, because usually if it's your boss that's coming at you at work, you have no way out. There's nothing you can do to escape that type of atmosphere that's there. There's no outage. You cannot go and yell at another employee, talk to somebody else that's there. It's usually just you and that environment. You bring that. There's a lot of people that take their work. They cannot separate work from home.
Right.
They'll bring their work home. And if you look, that's usually the number one reason why couples break up, is because of that. There's no separation of that unity there, that they cannot divide the two. So you bring that home, what happened at work, and voila, all it takes is one trigger word. Sometimes it's just, hey, how are you, hon? Yeah. Next thing you know, you're in an argument because that was just the one trigger word that you did not want to hear at that point in time. And you just start attacking.
Gosh, I love how she says escape. She says escape. It's so funny to listen to it. But yes, absolutely, when we talk about this, really going into, because in the Wall Street Journal article, it goes over a couple that argues. One's an analytical thinker, a technical thinker, while the other is an emotional thinker. And they could be talking about something as basic as anything. In this case, I'll go into it right here. Has to do with a school their daughter goes to. They're going to be increasing their prices to go to that school. So the guy wanted to know, the father wanted to know, or the husband for that matter wanted to know, how much more? How much more is it going to be increasing by? So the wife answers, I don't know, but not much. So he answers, or he asks, in other words, answers what she said. What do you base that presumption on? So she says, the wife says, my sense of things, having talked a lot with other moms. So he says, quote, in other words, you have no idea. Right there, that right there.
Trigger.
That's the trigger point, right then and there. In other words, you have no idea. Something as simple as that can do it right there, and that's where a lot of us begin our arguments right there. Something is, we could go back. We've done a lot of shows. Go back to all of the time something simple turned into a massive argument in a debate. And it started off very simple, and I can probably guarantee you would have never guessed it would have turned into a debate or an argument, but it did. So little things set you off. It's kind of human nature. It really is. And now there are more studies being conducted to further delve into why we argue, why we want to prove our points and win in the long run so much, why we have to keep score, why can't it just be a debate where we don't necessarily raise our voice, but it's still a debate. That is the question. And the wife actually stated that in a stressful situation, she got emotional and she was unable to recognize that his questions and what he was saying, they were actually reasonable because she was too caught up in the moment right there. And I think so many of us, both of us included, are caught doing that. And we have proof because, well, all of our shows are recorded. So there's no hiding from that.
But the article's right. It just takes that one trigger point, regardless of whether or not you think the other party is right. We do not analyze the situation until we've all exploded. And then you sit back and then you start thinking back about, well, I should have said this and I should have said that, or maybe I shouldn't have put it in such a way. Totally different, especially when you look back on video as to what it looked like.
Right.
And sounded like.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. No, I'm glad we did go into this because it just goes to show you that there's a lot that goes into a simple argument or a simple discussion that turns into something major. Something as simple as the price increasing of your daughter's daycare or school turns into a massive argument. Or what's for dinner turns into a massive argument. How many times have you gotten into an argument or a debate or something along the lines of that, a fight over dinner? What's going to be for dinner? Because it sets somebody off. Somebody's working on somebody's working on making dinner, and you bring that up, and then it turns into a massive argument. So think about it over the course of a day. How many simple things in life turn into a massive argument? And I think you would be surprised to find out that the number is fairly high because it's different quadrants of our brains converge with other people. We may not necessarily. I tend to be a very analytical thinker. But if I'm going up against somebody that is an emotional thinker, you tend to get. I'm bound to maybe converge with that individual, somebody that's an emotional thinker. So, all right, we do have to move into the next item on the itinerary on this 288th episode of the show. We're going to be talking about Facebook and MySpace. Back in episode 278 of the show, Ronnie and I talked about Facebook's growth of users slowing down. But what does that decline, quote-unquote decline in users say to reports, and plenty of them, showing Facebook hitting the 700 million user mark? Where's this decline? What about the early adopting countries? Are they still slowing down? Are new countries starting to become more involved? It wasn't really that much time between when we talked about it up until now. Mm-hmm. They gained all of these users, or are we finally finding out that this number is true? How do we know if it's true or not? How many accounts are real? And there's one specific MySpace user that's now on Facebook. And really the decline, we know MySpace is losing users by the boatload. Where are they going? We have a lot to talk about pertaining to this. Don't go anywhere. Plus your blast from the past coming up. But before we get into all of that, it is time to thank our sponsor. That is right. This portion of the 288th episode of Take Two is brought to you by Audible.com. And we thank Audible for their generous support of the Take Two program as well as the Voices on the Net network. Now listen up, because Ronnie and I have an awesome deal for each and every one of you. We really do. And you're going to want to take advantage of what we have to offer to you. Now, Audible is home to over 85,000 audiobooks and counting, always adding great audiobooks to their service. And we'll give you one free audiobook and a 14-day, that is right, a 2-week free trial to browse the 85,000 audiobooks that Audible has to offer to you. In order to take advantage of this, you go to audibletrial.com/take2. That is right, audibletrial.com/take2. You'll be glad you did, and the thing is, there's no risk involved. You don't have to spend a single dime. If you're an avid reader, obviously I think you'll enjoy this quite a bit. But even if you're not an avid reader, more than likely you enjoy watching TV or you enjoy watching movies. Say you enjoy listening to your favorite radio shows, podcasts, or music. You enjoy the auditory experience rather than the visual one. You don't want to pick up a book traditionally, read word for word, or an article online, or a magazine. You want to maybe relax in your chair, lay down on the couch or in your bed with your headphones on, listening to your favorite book. And the thing is, the voiceover artists behind these books are so great. They will engage you. They'll add that dramatic appeal. They will add that comedic appeal. They'll add that appeal. Check it out, audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of 1 free audiobook and a 2-week free trial. You'll be glad you did. As always, we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network. All right, before heading into the blast from the past, I want to go into this here, where we find out, and we talked about this back in episode number 278, Ronnie, how Facebook was slowing down a bit with its growth, and we know that there are other countries out there that are not, that they haven't adopted Facebook yet because they simply don't have the capability or the ability to do so. They don't have either internet access or they're blocked from accessing the social networking site. Now we find out that apparently Facebook has passed the 750 million user mark, and they're right on the brink of hitting that billion mark. And we talk about MySpace too. MySpace, we know, Ronnie, is losing users by the boatload. One specific member we do know for sure from MySpace is now a Facebook user. And is it any surprise that he jumped ship? Tom from MySpace, that is right, is now a part of the Facebook community.
Yeah,
now,
so pokey.
You go. A source close to the company tells TechCrunch that Facebook's user count has just surpassed 700 million people. Now, Facebook won't officially confirm that number, probably because it is waiting for 1 billion users before making it official. But earlier estimates from this month and last month suggest that the numbers may at least be close to the mark, which is funny because episode number 278 wasn't too long ago.
Yeah,
and
big change in 10 episodes.
Amazing what we find out when details emerge, Ronnie.
Well, none of that. They have a new PR firm for Facebook. So that kind of makes you wonder, what are they using as far as the numbers are concerned? Which one is more the right
which one is
area?
Correct.
Because how many people have different types of Facebooks out there, regardless, same user, different emails, but they're not on there to actually socialize. They're on there for a specific other purpose that's on there. They had multiple accounts. Maybe they forgot the password. They made a new one up. They want to hide their identity. They make a new one up. How about go back and actually find out who is visiting their own space at a specific time and kind of put that into there to find out who or how many are actually on there versus, multiple account users doesn't really, that's just saying we have 700 and some million accounts, but how many of them are multiple accounts of one person? Right.
And it just... You can't help to be skeptical about this. You really can't, because you hear different reports that show we just found out that Facebook was losing members and now they're gaining members. Who do we believe here? It's all part of Web 2.0 because there are so many mediums out there. There are so many places that want you to believe them, anything they're reporting on. So you don't know who to believe. So you multi-source, and you try to find out what it is you're trying to find out, but you still find it difficult to find the true story. It's like the big sources, you're inclined to believe that they're not going to let you down, but then there are other big sources saying the exact opposite. So it's like, who the heck do you believe here? So it like I said, Facebook is in the news all the time. So we talk about it a lot on the show. It's a part of our culture now. It is. It's a part of our culture. It's just the way it is.
All these numbers are they're just a systematic guess. It seems to be, because it doesn't matter what we can wait a week and those numbers, I guarantee, will be changed.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
It's just a guess, I think, on their part. Well, they'll guess when it is how many people signed up this particular day, or how many accounts were actually, opened up on this day. They need to look at those.
Right. Now at this point, and techland.com on time. The techland.time.com goes into this right here, and they bring up a good point. Facebook really, while they have hundreds of millions of users, what they need to do, they need to focus on making money off of those users. That should be of more importance because they've reached that plateau. They're way above that plateau where the amount of users they have, even if a small percentage of those were to, say, make money for them, whether it's via ads or whatever, they're going to make a lot of money because there are hundreds of millions of people involved with Facebook. Even if people have multiple accounts, say that, we'll go back to 500 million. Say that number is way glorified. They still have at least a couple 100 million people. Even a sliver of that would be a lot of money for them. That's 200 million people. That's a lot of people right there. But the number they state, 750 million, that's just outrageous. And it just goes to show you how powerful social media really is. It is.
And then you have Tom. I wonder if he's using the same picture.
Yeah, that was another thing. If you were a MySpace user, you still are. You would notice that Tom never changed his picture. It's like seriously the same picture, the same picture throughout his whole MySpace career. It's like what the heck's going on here?
I wonder if he plays Farmville now.
Maybe, who knows? But speaking to Business Week, this was talking about social media network MySpace. Shedding 1 million plus users per day. That's how quick they're going down. They're going to be nothing very soon. They really are. Among the casualties, companies, MySpace's co-founder Chris DeWolf and Tom Anderson are now part of Facebook. Speaking to Business Week, the company's former CEO says he quote-unquote cringes when he visits his old MySpace page, while his co-founding partner Tom, famous for being the first quote-unquote friend every member of the site received, hasn't accessed his MySpace page since early 2010, March 2010. Wow, it's quite a ways. But this is what Wolf had to say, as he hasn't accepted his page in a while. He's confident the site can still be successful, though, noting, quote, MySpace can be something again, but I think you have to have someone that can really reimagine what it is. As DeWolf added, also, quote, the direction it's going right now is not the right answer. Not if it's shedding over 1 million users a day. Clearly, that is not the right direction it wants to go. But bought for, of course, $580 million by News Corp. The site is expected to sell for only a fraction of that price when it gets handed off in the near future. And that's to be determined because we don't know. We're not there yet.
How many times that MySpace people offered money for that? I mean, megabucks. And now,
do you think they're going to be sorry?
Reached this point, I think they would have been sorry.
You think they're going to be sorry because maybe anything they receive now, if they wait 2 years, they're probably going to get quite a bit lower, quite a lower number because it's going to be worth a lot less. They're losing quite a bit of members, so somebody that's interesting and innovating it, maybe changing it around. They changed it around, maybe changing it around again. Anything that they receive, maybe it would be a smart business decision to get rid of it now if you really want to make big bucks on it, because Facebook is just too ahead, and MySpace needs a new direction. They need one because the direction they're in right now just not working. It just isn't. All right, we do have to move into your blast from the past on this 288th episode of the show. That is right, Ronnie and I and all of you. Well, we take a time machine into the past discussion that we delved into. We've went into so many great topics. We've touched on so many great topics that we're going to go back in time here. So what do you say, Ronnie? You want to come with me and the listeners and I, and go into the past?
Oh yeah!
All right, folks. Here we go for episode number 288. Ronnie and I present to all of you your blast from the past. Enjoy. Now, people wonder, what is this short-term memory? What is this long-term memory? Well, short-term memory, you may have not heard of the term short-term memory. You probably heard of something called working memory, which is taught in schools. You may know of it as that. It's the same thing. Basically, the ability to hold information in your mind, in that part of your mind, for about 20, 25, 30 seconds, and then if it's placed in association to something that you either care about or it's of importance, or in other words, priority, it's then moved to your long-term memory, where It can stay for weeks, months, years, or decades even. That's where this plays a major role. How much of the information that you retain, whether you're multitasking or not, is placed into your long-term memory from your working memory or your short-term memory? Well, clearly, you would think if you're younger, if you're 25 years old and you're reading something or you're reading a few articles, you're stopping to read another one, but you still have 3 up at the same time, you may have a better chance of retaining all of that information versus an 85-year-old doing it. They may be a little slower. What if somebody comes and interrupts both of you? You've got a 25-year-old and an 85-year-old in separate rooms, and that same person interrupts the 85-year-old and the 25-year-old. Do you think the 25-year-old is going to be more prone to remembering what they read versus the 85-year-old just because the 85-year-old is an older person, an elderly person? It really makes you think, because the older person may have something wrong with their mind, their brain, maybe. They may have a brain condition. You don't know that. Or as people get older, their brain starts to lose. I don't want to necessarily, well, it really technically shrink, but similar to anything else, a muscle, if you don't use it, you'll lose it technically. You'll lose muscle. Well, if you don't use your brain as much, and if you're older, you're really going to use your brain as much as if a 25-year-old is, or as much as a 25-year-old? Probably not. Probably not.
Well, that and your function of your body,
right?
As you age, I mean, once you reach 50, your body starts to slow down. So once you reach the 80 capacity, you've already lost 25% of what you're able to retain and hold. And that's with any of your body functions. They start to deteriorate. But what do you think about repetitiveness? Yeah. Let's just say you still have the 80-year-old that has done something such as canning. They've done this all their life. So it's second nature. Versus if you put someone who's 20, 30 years old in the same atmosphere, I mean, there's no repetitiveness in that with the 20 to 30-year-old that's in there trying to learn something new versus the 80-year-old who's done it their entire life. So they can skip a step and go on, and they know how to take care of that versus somebody else who comes into a new situation wouldn't. Does that make a difference? Because those that are 80 have different, let's just think of technology. I mean, you have some people that can't talk on the phone and watch television, or talk on the phone and go into the kitchen to get something. There has to be one direct route there, route back, or they're going to forget. Let's just say that they were hanging up the phone, they were grabbing the fruit and put the phone in the refrigerator and shut the door.
Yeah.
Versus someone who's in that repetitive mode that's done it for so long they can do it without thinking.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting that you bring that up. That people that are
tired over there,
little dizzy. Okay, calm down, JJ. It'll be okay. All right, yeah. Let me compose myself. Anyhow, that was your blast from the past. That is right, for this 288th episode of the show, short-term memory versus long-term memory. Remember that one. And if you want to check out all of the episodes of Take Two or any of the shows on the network, the Voices on the Network, you check out the website, the official Voices on the Network website at www.vonthenet.com. That is vonthenet.com. We do have to hightail it out of here. That's all the time we have. Guess what? We'll be back for the next episode as we approach the 29th mini milestone, only a couple away. And then the next major milestone, that's episode number 300, coming up. But we do have to go now before you even have the chance to miss us. We'll be back, though. So until then, we sadly have to say so long for now. Take care. Much love to you all. Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.